everyone, it's Deb with iClimb, and today we're going to work on the hips, we're going to work on the feet, and as always, we're going to work on that posture. Remember that your position, your posture has everything to do with your functional ability, how your arms and legs work, how your hips work, and how with the head, whether you feel like you need to, if you always feel like you need to swallow, things like that, that's usually a lymphatic thing where you're maybe getting some drainage. So that head needs to be upright. So we're going to start with some shoulders, all right? And shoulders are going to go back. And when you do that, you should feel like the top of the chest wants to come up, because a lot of you will do this without getting that sternum tilt. That sternum tilt's really important. So if I do a backward shoulder roll without tilting, I'm still not maximizing what I need to be doing with my rib cage and my scapula. If I tilt the sternum, now I'm putting those shoulder blades kind of in my back pockets like we always talk about. That changes everything. The top of the scap should never be higher than the shoulder joint. That says shoulder girdle's out of position. That also says you've got some issues with rotator cuff, always. It's always interrelated, all right? So we're gonna do some shoulder rolls. If you feel like you need to, clear your throat, work on your breathing with this, that's perfectly fine. Shoulders back and down. Pay attention. Is one more dominant than the other? Is the timing the same? They should be the same for stability purposes. So we're going to roll the shoulders back. Now for some of you, especially if your arms kind of hang this way or your arms don't hang straight when you stand up, you can do it in this position and maximize that a little bit. In other words, we're going a little deeper. Shoulders down and back. Open those hands. A lot of you are here. Open those fingers. That's going to make a difference in your grip. Shoulders down and back. And you're going to hold that. Do that until you feel like this opens and there's more movement on the back side. You feel it more on the back than you do the front. All right? Arms out. And back and down. There's always ways to go deeper, guys. There's always ways to maximize what we're doing, and I'm all about that. Down and back. And the head is up, and you don't leave your head forward. A lot of you will want to do that. As you take the shoulders down and back and the sternum tilts, you should feel like the head wants to go with you, as it should. It's connected. Don't leave it forward, all right? So I'm going to do two more. Arms out, shoulders back and down. The head is up. And then I'm going to relax, and you want to hold that. In other words, I'm getting those muscles used to holding my shoulder blades and my rib cage where they belong. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up the hips a little bit. Every one of you needs to be doing pelvic tilts every single day, at least 2 or 3 times a day, especially if you sit a lot. So anterior, posterior, belly button toward the back, anterior tilt, belly button forward, arch in the back. You should feel like the shoulders want to play along. All right, so as you go anterior tilt, you should feel like the shoulders want to roll back, as they should if paraspinals are working as a unit. This is so basic, and we've done this before. Again, always go back to the basics, especially when you haven't done things for a while. So pelvic tilt, you can do it with the shoulders, roll it back if you want to, and do that again until you feel like there's more movement in the hips and or the tightness diminishes. Now we're going to go down to the feet. We've talked a little bit about kinetic chain. In other words, all of the different joints, the major joint areas, getting them to work as a unit. So this time we're going to work for hip, knee, foot, and ankle. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the feet and knees together. And a lot of you, especially if you don't like getting on the floor, need to do this one on a daily basis. The muscles underneath your glutes are major stabilizers, all 7 of them. And a lot of you are in posterior tilt, hip rotation. You've lost your stability, and that's also why your balance decreases. They are attached to your femur. So as we roll our feet out, one of their jobs is to externally rotate the femur. You're going to roll onto the sides of your feet. Don't stop here. Roll out. and then bring it back. A lot of you are going to feel tightness on inner thigh. That's perfectly fine. We're going to roll out. Now, pay attention to what your torso is doing. Don't sit slouched and collapsed when you're working on your knees. Pay attention, teach yourself, and that's why we started with that stability and taking out some rotation and getting a better posture in the beginning. You're going to roll those feet out, hold that, and some of you are going to feel that in your knees. Again, that doesn't mean don't do it. If your knees collapse at midline, which is what's called valgus stress, that's too tight. In other words, you're going to feel a pull here. That's perfectly fine. Those muscles on the outside need to engage. And again, we're going to just roll out. Pay attention. Do you feel like one goes before the other? That's usually rotation. So you're going to bring it in and you're going to roll it out. A lot of you are going to feel this in your feet. Do not do this in shoes. Make sure you're either barefoot or have on socks. You're going to get a lot more out of it because the soles on your shoes are going to limit your movement in your feet. And bring it in and roll it out and bring it in and roll it out. Again, do that until you feel like the tightness has diminished and there's fluidity of movement. In other words, it's a lot easier than it was. The transition from adduction, in other words, going to midline, to rolling out is a lot easier. And like I know when I do this with my mom, she always says it makes my back feel better. Well, now you've got muscles that are supposed to be working with the paraspinals engaging, because if you shut them down, now the paraspinals have to work harder at stabilizing your back. So a lot of times if you will do nothing more than this, it'll help take out rotation and shut down a lot of the over tightness in those paraspinals. So I'll do a couple more. And again, kinetic chain, everything working like we did when we were on the floor, working medial to lateral, although this time we're in sitting. And in, and roll it out. And then now what we're going to do, and I want you to always pay attention to your posture. How much am I sitting up? A lot of you will want to kind of collapse the shoulders. Make sure you're sitting upright. So we're going to do a little bit of foot sliding. And this is one, I'm only going to do it a couple of times just for time purposes, but I would suggest you do it 3 times, always holding the position. You got 5 layers, again, in that foot and 33 bones. That's a lot of stuff going on in that little space. Work on foot-ankle mobility. That's your foundation. Foot-ankle mobility, load-bearing are your 2 most important characteristics of the foot. So we're going to do that. The feet are open. The second and third toe, the knee and the hip are all in line, and you're going to slide it back. I'm only going to do this on one side just for time purposes, but I want you to do it on both. Now, when you slide it back, again, just a refresher, the foot needs to be underneath the knee, not over here somewhere. A lot of you will turn the foot out. I shouldn't see my foot at all in this position because it should face forward and it should be, again, in direct line with the rest of that limb. In this case, it's the thigh. And I'm going to hold that. I'm going to make sure my heel is down. If you feel like your heel wants to come up, slide it forward a little bit, push that heel down. Now you're getting that stretch in the gastroc, in the soleus, in the Achilles. All those things on that back side that a lot of times will limit your movement. So we're going to hold that. And if you want to count, you can count. If you want to do some other things like back shoulder rolls, head tilts, working out some things in the neck, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you hold the position. Slide the foot forward, keep the toes open. You should notice a difference already the second time. Not as tight. If your toes want to curl, wiggle them. Get them started somehow so that they can start to open. And again, I'm just going to give another suggestion. If you have toes that always want to be here, just sit with a Kleenex, pick it up, drop it open, pick it up, drop it open. Get those toes moving. That's another thing, another suggestion to get those some foot-ankle mobility, and especially in those toes. So you're going to hold that, and then we're going to slide it back. Again, paying attention to your posture. The heel is down. So what I'm doing, and I got some increased mobility here, getting that kinetic chain to work when I had the feet and knees together. And now I'm working on that anterior posterior. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go anterior, posterior with movement because we've already done some stretches and tried to gain some range of motion. So I'm pushing that heel down, all right? And again, it may change. You may feel it in Achilles, you may feel it in soleus, you may feel it in gastroc, all of the above. But again, there's layers of things going on, so it will change. So you're going to hold that. And then we're going to go one more time. And like I said, for time purposes, I'm only going to do one side. And so we can move on. And you're going to hold. You can work on your breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathing always helps things relax, let go faster. Notice the change in the foot. Now, also in here, this is where a lot of you are going to be. That heel should be hidden. I shouldn't see the inside of that heel. Even weight distribution on the parameter of that foot. And then I'm going to slide that back. This is one where you may feel it more on the front than the back. That's perfectly fine. This muscle is the one that helps pull your foot back so you don't trip. So if you feel like tripping is a problem, you've got a short gait, you need to change that. That's literally prevention, fall prevention, letting that stretch in the back. All right, so after we do that, and I'm going to do the same side because I've already stretched that out, but I want you to do that on both sides. I'm going to slide that foot forward, so I'm just adding to what I've already done. I'm going to dorsiflex. There may be some tightness there. This knee needs to stay straight. In other words, don't bend the knee. Keep it straight. Toes are facing straight up. Open them if you can. And now, without leaning back, I'm going to lift. And then I'm going to drop the foot down, and bring it back. Now, this literally is what the foot should be doing, what the leg should be doing in gait. I'm going to swing it forward, and before my foot hits the ground, I go to heel strike, all right? But as I swing forward on that other leg, I've got to swing it, and it should all work as a unit in this direction, not this way, right here. This is how you're going to gain some of that. Some of you, again, are going to feel a pull in the backside or the hamstring. That's perfectly fine. If the muscles on the front side are contracting, the back side has to let go. And then you're going to bring it back. And I would suggest you do this again until you feel like it diminishes on the back side. And you're going to lift without leaning. If you're leaning, don't lift it as far. And then drop, and then slide it back. Again, getting that kinetic chain to work from the hip to the foot. And then you're going to lift and lower, drop the foot, slide it back. So we're just adding to that. Then we're going to go back to the hips. We're going to put the hands here after you've done both sides, and we're just going to make sure that our hips go anterior to posterior without torso rotation or a lot of extraneous movement in the torso. Because in gait, this is really gait work, guys. The hips are supposed to be doing this without sideways, forwards, rotation, any of that, stability. So you're just getting those hips to move forward to back. Some of you may feel a little tightness in low back. If you do, keep working. Knees go forward, right in line with the feet, almost like you're cross-country skiing while you're sitting. That's really the movement that you're getting. And just pay attention to that. So what I suggest you do with this sequence is to then stand up, all right? Get your bearings, kind of notice what's changed. Do my weight distribution feel different? Do I feel like there's more weight on my heels? Then start walking slowly, and I think you'll notice a difference. Try not to fall back into old habits. So keep your head up, shoulders back, and again, let's improve that gait and that posture. Have fun and enjoy.